In a world where digital experiences demand uninterrupted availability and seamless global access, distributed systems and databases have become indispensable for modern businesses. With 68% of organizations reporting data availability as critical to their operations, the need for resilient, scalable, and globally consistent databases has never been greater. CockroachDB addresses this need with innovative features like horizontal scaling and strong consistency, enabling businesses to handle complex distributed workloads with ease. At the helm of this transformation is Spencer Kimball, a renowned technologist and entrepreneur whose career spans groundbreaking projects like GIMP and his current role as the CEO of Cockroach Labs. And today, we have him in conversation right here. Thank you very much, Spence, for joining me for this conversation. Really looking forward to an enriching one.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Spencer, my first question to you is that your journey has been remarkable and inspirational, from GIMP to Google to Cockroach now. What has inspired your path, and what have some of the pivotal moments been that have shaped your career?
Well, since I was 12, I was a software engineer. I love to program. So there was never a time in my life between 12 and about 45 that I didn't have a project that I was really happy to be working on, like very inspired by. And that actually is how Cockroach got started. But the journey was always one of solving problems that I had. So that was what GIMP was created for. You know, we might say we. It was myself at the time, one of my fellow students at University of California, Berkeley, who was also the co-founder at Cockroach, and we were at Google together. So we've been working together a long time. By the way, he married my sister.
Oh.
But we started the GIMP because we needed a photo editing software in Unix. We were using, it was even before Linux at the time, but we created that because we needed it. We wanted to edit software and we didn't want to pay for Photoshop. So ultimately, myself and co-founders, we started Cockroach because we wanted to build a database, and not just for no reason, we wanted to use that database. So that's ultimately, I think, the key to any sort of success. You do something you're passionate about, that you're inspired by. The really pivotal moment in my life was probably deciding to join Google. And it was because my co-founder had already started 3 months before, and he really advised me to come join. He said, "This is a rocket ship, you should come here." Going to Google was very eye-opening and definitely set me on the course that I've been on since.
Well, I'm sure this has been a phenomenal journey, one that has many learnings, and you know, a lot of people can tap into those learnings that you've had. I'd like to now sort of double click onto the need for CockroachDB and to understand, you know, one thing is clear, that it was born out of the need for resilience and global scale. But what was it that led you to create it, and how has it evolved since 2014?
Well, you have to go back to the 10 years before Cockroach. It's been 10 years at Cockroach now. And that was primarily at Google. And working at Google in the aughts, so starting in 2002 to 2012, you really got a sense of what the future was going to be. Right? Google had global data centers that they were building themselves. They saw the need for resilience, I think, before other companies did, a different kind of resilience. They also saw the need for scale. Like, they had scale problems in 2002 that are very common today, but weren't so common then. So it was 10 years at Google and watching them struggle with the challenges and opportunities of that scale and the requirements to keep these very critical services. Like, who wasn't using Google Search or Gmail? Right? You want to keep these things up. That's really what inspired the ideas behind a lot of this resilient distributed infrastructure and data architectures. And Google worked on a system called Spanner, and that ultimately was what inspired Cockroach. So what's changed since 2014? I think in 2014, we were kind of in the wilderness saying, hey, look, this is a distributed database. You should use it. You should have a resilient system. You are going to have problems with scale. You can kind of see this starting to happen. But still people, you know, why would I need that? I don't need that kind of scale. Well, 2024 is a bit different, just sort of across the board. All the things that originally inspired us to build Cockroach have become much more mainstream. And it's almost like the promise that we were trying to deliver on in 2014 has both come to fruition because it takes 10 years to build a database, but also the whole larger ecosystem that we necessarily are trying to sell to make happy customers, they actually need the software now. So those two things came together.
That's quite brilliant and fascinating, and I love how the things did come together over the 10-year journey. So my next question, Spencer, is that where exactly or which verticals in the industry are you seeing the most prominent use cases for Cockroach DB?
It's a great question. It's an exciting one because of the importance of the kinds of businesses that Cockroach is very well positioned to help. These are companies that fundamentally have an outsized need for resilience. They have an outsized need for extreme scalability, even across continents, for example. So you can imagine who are the companies that really need to keep their use cases up, their critical infrastructure. Things like banks. That's a very strong customer profile for Cockroach DB. Financial services have a lot of scrutiny from regulators, and so being able to stay up despite what used to be conditions that would cause a disaster for a database, these are things that Cockroach is designed to survive. And once this kind of technology is available, this kind of a vertical naturally gravitates to Cockroach. So financial services is a big one. Technology also, so IT in general. This is also a really strong vertical for Cockroach DB. Not so much on resilience. Everyone wants those systems to stay up. Everyone needs resilience, frankly. But they really have problems with scale. Like, these are the companies that often have not just terabytes of data, but petabytes. And Cockroach is a system that can scale to many hundreds of nodes. And some of our biggest customers, that might just represent a single database or a single product in a portfolio of products. We also have some strength, this is a really interesting one, in gambling and in gaming. So you can imagine that in both of those circumstances, you might have to be very careful about where data is stored. It has to be in certain legal jurisdictions, or you have to worry a lot about latencies globally. So with gaming, think about a massive multiplayer gaming system. You want to make sure that you can connect players that live on different continents, but also be aware of the geographies, because sometimes you want to, for latency reasons, group different gamers together so they have low latency. Like all the people in Australia, for example, wouldn't necessarily be mixed and matched with people in North America.
Thank you for outlining that, Spencer. So Spencer, as somebody who's driving innovation in distributed databases, what are the typical trends or challenges that you foresee in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, the big one is a massive effort, especially with some of our big customers in more traditional verticals like financial services, moving to the cloud. And that's not a process that happens overnight. It's a significant modernization effort, and it usually involves running Cockroach on-premise or in private clouds, and then going hybrid, so you have one foot in the past, one foot in the cloud, present or future. And then when you're in the cloud, you want to make sure that you have portability between the big cloud vendors, and potentially even maintain the option to go back into a private cloud, because the public clouds aren't always the best economic choice. In addition to that modernization, of course, we've got this incredible tailwind, which is AI. So everyone's trying to figure out how they're really going to blend intelligence into use cases, and a lot of the inspiration is for new use cases. But of course, there's many more times, at least at this point, opportunities to take all these very critical existing use cases and make them better with AI. In order to really make use of AI, and in particular to operationalize it for real-time use cases that blends in all the metadata about a customer, a merchant, or a user, and to do that in real time and really provide that intelligent perspective on the data, that requires Cockroach, for example, to add AI modalities that can significantly aid in that process. And I think that actually is also an incredible tailwind on the whole idea of modernization. You want to get into a modern ecosystem to use AI. So putting AI competently into a distributed database is something that we are bringing to market, and I think that's going to really change the landscape in the next 3 years.
That's quite fantastic. Thank you for outlining how Cockroach can actually play partners in progress for industries or organizations that are on their modernization journey and achieve the right kind of outcomes with the modern day technology that is available to all of them for the innovation that needs to be driven. Thank you very much, Spencer, for this conversation. And with that, thank you everybody for tuning in.